The original version of this video was uploaded to Jason Verney's YouTube channel, where it and many other videos, podcasts, snippets and films can be found. That channel can be found at youtube.com/Jason Verney. This episode's guest is Anna Bondarenko, the owner of Naughty Muse Studios, a design studio and art cafe in Busan, South Korea. Before we tell you more about this interview with Anna, we'll play you a little over a minute of snippets from this hour-long interview.
I came in 1996, 5 or 6, with my parents. I was 15. I felt happy that I was in this city. These small streets, they still have all this, its old charm. Korean charm, old people, and when everyone knows you. I come in the morning and owner of local shop, he greets me. Usually we eat Korean food. I love it. And even when I go back to my hometown, we go to Korean restaurants. We want people from outside Korea come, stay in Korea, learn Korean culture, and have a space to create. I feel comfortable in Busan. I feel like at home. When we moved to Busan, there were not a lot of foreigners here. So you kind of, to feel comfortable, you had to become Korean. I don't understand when people say, "Oh, it's so like difficult to be in Korea, not speaking Korean." But for me, it's not difficult. You are human being. You can ask anyone. Like this old woman who always sitting there, they will help you.
This is the Not So Korean podcast. I am Jason Verney. As you probably know, we started this podcast back in 2021 and used to record this live in UK's Koreatown itself. That's an area in and around New Malden. Yes, that's the largest Koreatown and Korean community in Europe. These days, we bring you such episodes and therefore information and interviews from various places in the world, including Korea itself. In this interview with Anna Bondarenko, we'll find out not only what it's like being an art space owner in Busan, and indeed about the artist community in that city, but also about her life, her fondness for Korean culture, how she ended up in Busan, and what it's like living as a foreigner in Busan. So, here is that interview with the owner of Naughty Muse Studios, Anna Bondarenko. So here we are in another episode, and I'm talking to somebody who I know from Busan. Her name is Anna, and I'm speaking from another location, and I've actually got deliberately behind me, I've got all this kind of memorabilia from Busan, whether it's art related, which will be relevant in a minute, or film related, which is of course art, some kind of art, and some other stuff that I've accumulated over the last couple of trips, and anyone who knows me well, I guess, will know that I've been going to Korea for 11 years, but a lot of those trips, if not all, would have included trips to Busan, and the film festival, the Biennale, which we'll come on to in a sec. But on my last trip, we met. This is Anna, and I will let Anna just briefly say who she is, what she runs, maybe where she's from, and then I'll kind of lead into some questions of my own, if that's all right.
Okay. Hello, I'm Anna Bondarenko. I live in Busan, but originally I'm from Far East Russia. And I've been living in Busan for more than 20 years with some breaks. one break. And since last summer, I run open co-working art studio in Busan. Yes, that's what I do now.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Just to let people know who might be listening to this or anyone who's watching a version of this, I've been to Anna's studio. I went thanks to a friend who we know who's actually been a guest on the show recently. Well, it was recorded a while ago, but it was quite recently. That's James Turnbull of the Grand Narrative. He invited me to. It was your first ever film night.
Yes.
And so it wasn't art as in the art that we can see behind you, but it was art in the fact that it's Frida and it's a film for anyone. A lot of people might know this already, but so it focuses on an artist. So it's a film related to art. And it was your first night. It was a nice, intimate gathering, not too many people, but perfect for the size of the place and the screen. And yeah, so that's where we first met, and then we met once or twice after that during my time in Busan. But what I was going to say was, well, first of all, just to talk about those film nights, how have they gone since then? I've been watching your social media, and I see that you've had a couple, I think, since, or at least one.
Yes, we had one with Van Gogh, recent movie, and another in beginning of January. It was 1967 Beatles Yellow Submarine animation, which was very, very nice.
Right, that's yes, that might be the one. I saw the Van Gogh one.
Van Gogh was a little bit heavy. I think it's for this kind of event, it was a little heavy. It's better to watch at home, but Beatles was very nice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I've seen either of those all the way through,
I
but
recommend Beatles. I think it's amazing and it's still very contemporary, good humor. And we actually, for this evening, we had one visitor from Britain, but if you're familiar with Ulsan, he came from Ulsan, especially to watch the animation. It's about 40 minutes drive, but he came by train, so it took a little long for him.
wow. Well, I will say this as well. Of course, there's not many people in the Western world, at least, that haven't heard of Van Gogh and the Beatles. But the co-host of this show, Timothy, who was mostly in the first series, but he's kind of making the odd appearance in this series. He's a big Paul McCartney fan and
Mm.
band, and I grew up. My parents grew up with Abbey Road. You know, I grew up with that album, and yeah. So did you deliberately choose that lighter screening because of the more sort of one you had to
Very
struggle?
artistic. When you watch it, you will understand why. It's very artistic. It's a lot of hand painting, and I did not organize this particular movie night by myself. I had a friend who helped me, and she is a photographer. She took part in our exhibition, and she recommended this movie,
Mm.
this animation, and it's good choice.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, and it's good as well that you properly get recommendations and collaborate. You can know what people want to see, and then they might also ask their friends. I've
Yes,
suggested this. Yeah, it's like cross networking as well, I suppose. So you said, and you've been in Busan 20 years. Now
yeah.
you look, I've met you before, obviously, but you don't seem. You must have been young, pretty young when you were here. What?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, first time I came in 1996, 5 or 6, with my parents. I was 15, and but we did not live here. My parents stayed in Busan, but I left to study in England. So we just came for vacation, me and my sister. But in 2001, we came back with family of my own. I came back with my husband. Um,
Wow.
since then, yes, we stayed in Busan until 2009. We made the attempt to go back to Russia and lived in Moscow for 5 years, but we could not live without Busan, and we came back.
Ah, well, that's interesting to know because, as I say, we've spoken before, but I wasn't sure. It's interesting how different expats or different non-Koreans end up in Korea, and it's not always the traditional path of being a teacher, maybe, or whatever. I mean, I guess there is a quite a large Russian community in Busan, maybe more than Seoul, or is it?
No, not more. Maybe it used to be more, but now no. I think there is large community in Ansan near Seoul. But back then, Busan was developing as a port. So a lot of Russian people from Far East who were connected to fishing industry or some connecting to marine industry, they came to Busan, and my parents were one of them.
Right, that's how. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've actually been to Ansan in Seoul very briefly because you know already, but I'm an activist for certain things like Sewol and the classrooms, the Sewol ferry. Sorry, it's the tragedy. But
Mhm.
yeah, so I went there, but it was so brief. I didn't get a chance to see the neighborhood and see whether, what the mix of residents were. So that's quite interesting to know. I've learned something there. um, so how long have you studied art or been interested in art or been an artist? Like how long does that date back?
Oh, it's not my first degree. My first degree was economics because my parents wanted it. But when I came back to Moscow, I asked myself what I wanted to do, and I sat down and I thought about it, and I came to this conclusion that it was something creative, but I did not know what. So it was how many in 2009 it was, and I went to at that moment in Moscow. British High School of Art and Design just was established. It's a branch of University of Hertfordshire from England, and the education was in English and British art creative program. It was very new for Russia, but it was familiar for me because before that I was studying in England. And I went there, and my major was graphic design and illustration. But nowadays I'm leaning more towards art. And 2 years ago, I did take a course from Sotheby's University of Art on course Art is Global Industry. And so I got more into art, and now I'm learning a lot from our artists and our events.
Right. So that's really interesting as well. The fact that you started off with economics study, but you might have been a bit pressured into following because let's face it, the amount of people that follow art or filmmaking like myself, we didn't study at early in age. We realize what we want later on. But what I was going to say was the fact that you'd done economics, did that help with having a business like this in Korea, or have you gradually got to this point of having these studios? You've been there quite a while now.
I think I did. Before I did not understand the influence, but now I think it's because it made me feel more comfortable opening the business, starting business. I think everything plays its role, and everything was done for some kind of purpose. After graphic design, I actually been in Korea. I finished two more. I got two more degrees, educational. One is Russian as foreign language, and it was from University of Pushkin in Moscow, which is very famous for Russian language. And another teaching primary grades. So, and it helps me a lot. I think it was one of the best choices because now I easily teach children in our studio. Before that, I think I would not be able to do it. Economics also, because it helps me to understand all these nuances, business nuances, but I don't like it.
Yeah, it can be a bit boring, I'm sure. But just to clarify, and for any listeners out there, so you do teach children. I've been there. And your children or your friends' children were there that time. I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, but obviously there's also adults classes as well. So it's not just children. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, and I don't teach adults. We have artists who have the opportunity to have organized workshops here in Busan. We have one Russian and one Korean, and recently another Russian artist wrote to me offering collaboration in classes. So anyone who has any ideas to organize some events, a workshop, are welcome. I welcome everything.
That's great. And the fact that you said you felt comfortable, the business side it came to, the business side of your economic side came to play later on, even if you didn't realize it, but you just got used to it and used to being in Korea. So did that mean also setting up such a business in Korea, it helped because you also felt comfortable with Koreans or just Busan itself, or was a mixture, or non-Koreans, maybe the Russian community, I don't know.
No, I was comfortable just because I feel in Busan like at home. That was not even a problem. Problem was getting visa, working visa, because before I was on my husband's visa. He has his company, and I was like a wife, and I was not allowed to work. But recently, with some changes in government policies, policy, I got opportunity, and I'm very grateful to acquire business visa. I finished some government program, Oasis visa program, and I got enough points to get this business visa, investor visa.
Well, it must be nice now that you've got your own business. So this is co-owned with your husband?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But it still must be nice. It's more you, isn't it, than him? So
Of course, yes, but he helps me a lot. He helped me with establishing the company because still it was new for me, and he is the one who's done it before by himself without any help in Korea. So he knew everything, and he helped me, and he helps me with accounting part. He's doing all of this, so I don't have to worry about it.
well, that's good. And it just sounds such a nice thing. Or even when I went there, it just seemed quite a nice, the aesthetics maybe and the feel of it. But just to have that as your business, it is like a large, living space. I felt comfortable.
Sometimes I think, like, oh, maybe I should move here. It's very nice.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's why, I wasn't sure where you were going to be today, and I can see the art in that corner. That's the, yeah, as you showed me earlier, that's the corner, and I've seen that corner. So it does feel like it has become your home.
Yes, it's different, not the one you saw. We
Oh,
made this wall. It's another wall for exhibition. We had exhibition in December, but the corner you saw is occupied by our
ah,
uh, another artist, Christine now, and
oh, yeah. Is that the area that was hidden behind the screen?
no,
No, that
no,
was not there.
it's
Okay,
not.
no
It's
worries.
you.
Yeah. Okay.
attachment.
I just want to just read a couple of paragraphs from your website to give listeners an idea of what you do, and I think it's worded quite well. But it's also there's another section, and there's one or two questions I have on this. You see, it's Naughty Muse Studios, which I'm interested in the name. So Naughty Muse Studios is a multicultural open art slash print slash design studio and art cafe in a beautiful city, Busan, South Korea. But it's more than that. It's a place where people can share their passions, knowledge, and culture. It's a sanctuary and driving force at the same time. We strongly believe in collaborations. We believe that getting to know different cultures makes you richer, wiser, and much more interesting person with deep, meaningful artistic projects. We believe that underneath the cultural uniqueness, we are all the same soft, fragile human beings that want to express themselves and be accepted. We build our studio and cafe with this thought in mind and hope it resonates with many. So, two questions on that. One is the softness. Now, I think, do you mean that the world makes us more hardened, or is that or something else?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I believe, and now with my own business, I believe that uh, the world we live in, makes people mm, more hard outside.
right. Yeah,
And it just pushes people to some actions that they would not do if they were not in these situations.
yeah. That's right. Like you know, you've got this business now, whether you call it a business or not, it's still your passion. And there's this well-known, it's a well-known fact that as children, and we are soft as children, we don't know anything bad. We just, we might bicker with people, but what I mean is you draw pictures, and you show your mum, and your mum, when, the parents will just shrug it off, go very nice, and then get on with something else. So we all start off soft and playful, So no, I did wonder what that meant, but I guess, yeah, I kind of read between the lines, literally. um, but Naughty Muse Studios. So this is something I should have asked earlier, but where did that name come from? Can you?
It came from graphic design, because every time I had some brief, I was thinking, I was researching, but ideas came at night. So, and every time I thought, okay, the muse comes at the most inappropriate moment when I want to sleep. And every time I thought, I will remember this idea in the morning. But in the morning, of course, I did not remember. So sometimes I just stand up and I write down. So I think that muse is not very nice creature because it comes in not an appropriate time, and when you need it, it does not come, and when you don't need it, it comes. That's where it came from.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like a dream, isn't it, as well? The dreams you can't help and you never remember them. But
Yes.
and some of those do develop into ideas. But yeah, I see Muse, and I'm constantly getting ideas. And if I don't write that one down, and it's brilliant, and then another one will come, and I'll forget about that one, and it's never convenient, in my
I
opinion.
had I had doubts about the name because if you translate to Russian, it's okay. It sounds not okay, but in English, it's very provocative. But my friend said, "Oh, it's a great name," and she supported me, and that's how I chose it.
But I think it's fine as well because naughty was never meant to be a bad, dirty word.
Yes,
Again, going back to children, naughty is what you do when you're not being nice.
exactly. Yes.
And so it's just the modern world and naughtiness and humor. So I'm just gonna this will be the last time I'm gonna read something from your website, but I really want to read this because anyone listening or watching and who's been to Busan or wants to go to Busan, I think these paragraphs just sort of paint it quite nicely. So it says narrow, cozy streets stumbled into glass. Oh God, I'm going to start again. Narrow, cozy streets stumbled into glass skyscrapers, buzzing business areas, green hills topped with traditional alcoves, hip and loud student blocks, smelly, authentic fish markets, shiny shopping malls, rusty shipyards, and of course, green and blue sea with myriads of islands. This is Busan. This is where we are. Second largest city of South Korea, Busan is eager to compete with the capital in art and cultural scene. After all, Korea's first Biennale, which I want to come to later, Biennale was organized in Busan in 1981 and is successfully running till these days. So I'll stop there, but there's other stuff where it goes on to talking about the connections while relaxing on the beach. And I've noticed a lot of change in Busan, like the rusty shipyards. There's certain bits where that's no longer, like Gwangali, you go around to the left,
Yes.
and then that used to be the fishing area, and now it's all being gentrified, a massive Starbucks and all this. And I remember it before. Um, but the reason, yeah, I wanted to read that just because I'm sorry if I didn't make it flow as nicely as it should have read. I read it to myself earlier and it went fine, um, but there's a couple of things I read about Biennale, and everyone always raves about the Gwangju Biennale. They've always talked about it since the 90s. I've heard this controversy about how that started. Um, but the Busan one started later. But what people forget is what I read up on today is that it was originally something else, the Youth Something Biennale. And
Mhm.
that's why it dates back to 1981. So if
Yes.
you include that, it's just I've always said to people, no, Gwangju is the oldest one. But it's not it's only because the Biennale one is more recognized now because it's government supported. Yeah, so I'm really glad that you put that paragraph in because I was even forgetting. I've been to the Biennale in Busan twice. Yeah, only small parts of it because it's so big. And I'm just happy that you recognised it. It is just to compare it to the London Korean Film Festival, which has been going, I don't know, coming up for 20 years or 15 years or so. But the first 7 years of that, it wasn't done by the Korean Cultural Centre. It was done by something else, but it's still a part of those years. So I just feel like in art, these things get forgotten about sometimes. But how did when you wrote that summary or those few paragraphs, there's so much that you can put into about Busan. How did you decide what to put in? Did you want to mention the skyscrapers as much as the students?
Uh, it's just the feeling of the city.
Mm,
That's how it feels, everything all around you. And that's what I put in.
mm. Yeah, well, yeah, that's what I would probably feel when when I've been there. And you
I
also,
wanted to visualize. To visualize with these words, I wanted to visualize and um, make people experience the feel of it. And I love Busan. And before Naughty Muse Studios, I worked in Russian school, which is based near Busan station. And I worked on Saturdays. And every time Saturday morning when I came to school, and I felt happy that I was in this city because this feeling when all the streets they start to wake up, start to move, and it's like you are in some movie.
yeah. Well, that's it. Yeah, I suppose it does. I hadn't really thought about. I never get up early enough in Busan, but I know I have been up earlier. But it's yeah, like you said about the fisheries. Not every like Seoul doesn't have the same thing. It's not a coastal place. So Busan, yeah, if you see it all coming to life in different areas, and it's uh, yeah, okay, that's really nice. And I know we're going back several years because you mentioned you've been there 20, but did you know much about Korea, well, Busan or Korea before you came here? So when your parents came here, did you know anything? Can you?
No, because I was born in Soviet Union. I did not know, of course. Uh, but it was like a different planet. I'm not just from Russia, I'm from Ireland in Russia, in Faiz, very small town. So coming to Seoul, first we came to Seoul and then to Busan, but it was like a different planet for me. Uh, and still, even now, uh, last week we went to Daejeon, and when we came back to Busan, it felt like futuristic, so futuristic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing,
Yeah.
yes. And I fell in love with it. I never knew that I never expected that I would spend my life in South Korea.
Yeah, that's lovely. Um, uh, when you started the studio, which, as you said, wasn't very long ago, did you open it? Right. Okay. So did you open it as a non-profit endeavor or a commercial one? And did either of those choices did it make a difference in the fact that it's different rules for setting up a business? And I know you had your husband's help, but did you say, no, I don't want this, I want this to be focusing on art, the
I
class?
did not I did not know the difference back then. After it was established as corporation, and I started to understand because I started to learn more, and I wanted to change to non-profit because it's easier if we have no non-profit organization. It's easier uh, to to get into projects, government projects, anything. So but I did not know about all these nuances. But anyway, profit was never in my mind when I started it. It was about community. The main aim was to create art community in Busan. Right now, we have some people who I thought it was me because I'm foreigner, and I thought it was me that I could not find this creative community. But actually, lately I meet some Korean people, and we talk about it, and it feels that for Korean people it's also the same. So in Busan, this community, creative community, is fractured. It does exist. Uh, a lot of talented artists, but they are not in the same place. So that was the idea for the studio.
Yes. Okay, I can relate to that, I suppose. Just from visiting it, every time I visit it, I learn something new. And just, for example, there's that area in Busan, one of the metro stations. Gosh, I've forgotten now what the name is. I went there a couple of months ago, and it's full of cartoons in the subway, like
Mhm.
drawings, manga, sort of everything. I'm trying to think what it's called. It's a junction. It's one of the junctions, but it's not that
Yeah?
famous. Oh, I can't remember what it's called.
Okay, it
But
doesn't.
anyway, but it was like what I couldn't believe when I read about the artists. It said every single one of them was from Busan. That's like that's just a tiny area. And then Gwangali, no, the other station, not Gwangan, but the other one I used to get off on you know,
Mhm.
the
Yes.
on the Green Line.
Mhm.
Every week or so, they have an exhibition there, and it's nearly always Busan artists.
Yes, I know. Mhm.
Yeah, but so what I mean is the quantity just shows you if there's a new one every week. My gosh. I mean, Seoul, yeah, they have a hell of a lot of art places, but they're all in little pockets as well. Like Seoul's never going to run out of artists. But
Yeah.
Busan, yeah, well, it's good that you thought about that. I mean, of course, you've come to um you've come to that was part sorry what I'm trying to say is that was part of your mission sort of thing to kind of get these fragments together. And I went to a couple of expat art gatherings when I was there, not and there's what's his name, Kay, Kay,
Yes.
um and he recently went to your place maybe for the first time, I don't know, but and he's got him or someone else said to me, Busan, with its expat community and events, um, not only does it incorporate a few Koreans as well, it's not completely just expat, but it seems less cliquey than Seoul in some ways. Even if it is fragmented, when they do get together, everyone's maybe it's the sea air or something.
I don't know.
No, I just wondered, yeah. Okay, so as an artist, because obviously you do, you do art and you're an artist, how does Busan and Korea shape your um, how does it inspire you when it comes to actually creating some art? It's not
Oh,
always career related, is it? But
I think it's beauty. It's beautiful. It just makes you want to translate it into something else. Right now, like, my friend Christine, she's organizing exhibition, and it is about Busan people. So now I'm thinking a lot about it, and I started to go back in history, uh, how we, how my daughter was born here, and all these changes in Busan, and it changed dramatically, and it inspires.
yeah, they always say that, don't they? By the sea, it's meant to do that as well, but I think it's more than that in Busan. Now,
Mhm.
let's. Oh, as my Busan International Film Festival program has fallen down. Uh,
Listening.
uh, right, let's talk about Songjeong area. Now, some people who've been to Busan may not know the area that well. It is highlighted as a tourist attraction, but it took me a long time to visit it at my many trips. And it's a beautiful. It is a part of Haeundae, isn't it? But it's not Haeundae. It's like Haeundae Dong or
Yes.
Haeundae-gu.
Pentagon.
Haeundae-gu.
And
But Songjeong itself, now just to put people in the picture who might be listening to this, there's where your place is, it's only about 1 kilometer walk to the sea, isn't it? Is it 1 kilometer or two?
1 kilometer.
Yeah, which doesn't take very long at all. But what I was going to ask was a couple of things about that areas. You were obviously looking at more than one place when you settled on somewhere. So how much of a role did Songjeong area play in your decision making? Was it just that there was something amazing available, or did you already have something that drew you to that area?
Yes, it had, because it has very nice community. It's different, and just a few days ago, my Korean friend came, and she agrees with me. It's different from the rest of Busan because it has surfing schools, and
Mm.
all Busan biker community, they gather here, and street racers. So it's kind of more free.
Mm.
I know it's far, a little bit far from city center, as might seem, but that's why it's different. And also, these small streets, they still have all this, it's old charm, Korean charm, old people, and when everyone knows you, I come in the morning, and owner of local shop, he greets me, offers me some coffee, and that's what I like.
Mm. Yeah, that's lovely, isn't it? Yeah, because you do forget that when you're in places like Haeundae, Gwangali, you're not going to see that. You have to go. Yeah, yeah. I stayed in Busan, and it's near Suyong,
Uh-huh.
but Suyong is more. There's more expats or foreigners. But in Busan, there's a mountain either side.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, there's a mountain either side, but it's very local. There's hardly any other foreigners around, and you do feel that. So yeah, that's that. I wondered if that had a part to play. And
Big
you're right.
part. I
Yeah.
was I was looking especially in this area, and actually I'm planning. I want to move here because now I live in Haeundae, but I want to move to Songjeong, because of this feeling
Yeah, because it's yeah. So that was one of my questions. So where do you live now in Busan?
in Haeundae.
Where? Sorry, it's because of the.
Haeundae.
Oh, okay, yes, right in that area. Well, yeah, because yeah, you're all right for time.
Yes, yes, it's just some
Yeah,
noise
that's
from
okay.
people.
Yeah, it's okay. So you looked at other areas of Busan, but you were attracted to Songjeong specifically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's I'm glad as well when you mentioned about there's Koreans that work there as well or help out because in fact there's a paragraph. Yeah, there's a paragraph again on your wonderful little website. It says some of us are Korean and some of us have lived in Korea for a long time. And Naughty Muse Studios is the response to our personal need for a vibrant creative space with necessary equipment where we could express ourselves, collaborate, etc., etc. But it was that opening bit that said some of us are Korean and some have lived here in Korea for a while. So I've been to your place only a couple of times and I didn't see Koreans, I don't think. So I was thinking, oh, is it just for expats? But I'm glad I read that because that made me, and you've told me already, you've got one or two Koreans.
Yes, now our two resident artists are Korean. One is Korean and another one who used to live in the USA.
So Korean American or,
Uh,
but no, sorry, Korean but moved to America, now came back.
yes, yes.
Okay. And so yeah, and just going back to that area, there's a couple of nice little venues or restaurants there. There's the one that sounds like kangaroo. What is it? Roo Kanga? Or
Yes, Garukan.
oh yes, so that's like a little a restaurant with its own little theme. And the guy was Korean. He used to live in Australia. He's come back. And I just say this to people before I forget, because there's a 7-Eleven which are everywhere in South Korea, but other convenience stores as well. And in where I'm in Thailand right now, 7-Elevens are even more prevalent. But what I was going to say was that tiny little 7-Eleven, it's got this seating area outside. And if, for people that don't know, haven't been to Korea, a lot of convenience stores have an outside area. You can sit and chill, you can eat there, drink there, or whatever. But this one has this music theme with a little keyboard and was it bottles or cans or mixture, isn't it? It's all it was like it's perfectly positioned because it's right opposite your art studio and it is a work of art in my opinion. It's
Yes.
I was telling people afterwards, oh, you've got to see this 7-Eleven, and I felt bad because I was talking about that more than your studio.
I understand.
Okay.
Actually, last Sunday we went, I took our children group, sketching group, and because you've seen, he has a lot of old things like old phones, old TVs, and everything. So the children, they don't know all the stuff, and we were sketching it. And it's like a museum, a
Yeah,
little
yeah. Yeah, it's even got a statue, isn't it, of some famous
yes.
Korean musician. Yeah. So that little area, it is out of the way, but I did like it myself, and I think I did that journey where you go backwards on the metro line and then get the two stops on the other train. I forget what it's called now, but it
Yeah.
goes all the way to Songjeong station
Mm-hmm.
because it can be a bit inconvenient to get there, but Busan has buses, which is great. So, okay. So you obviously enjoy Korea. I would ask you to sum it up in a few words, but you've kind of done that in your description on the website. Um, so Korean food, does that play a big part in your life? Because when I came to that film screening, we didn't have Korean food because obviously it was like nibbles. But
Mm-hmm.
does that play a, because you must miss your Russian food as well. So how do you mix it up?
Russian food I cook at home, but usually we eat Korean food. I love it. And even when I go back to my hometown, we go to Korean restaurants.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's what we said.
Right. So where was that in your hometown? Where?
It's island Sakhalin.
Oh, yes, you said yeah. Because I mean, Russia, of course, has a there's a big
Mhm.
mix of Koreans and Russians, but I can't imagine that island. It's not very big. Is it the size of Jeju or is it smaller?
No, it's bigger. It's one of the biggest islands. I think it's biggest in Russia.
Ah,
It's quite big, but my hometown is small, and half of this island used to, after Russian-Japanese war, half of it belonged to Japanese until the end of Second World War. So my hometown, it used to be, first it was native people village, then it was Russian, then it was Japanese, and then Russian again.
mm,
And Japanese, when it belonged to Japanese, they brought Koreans because at the same time they occupied Korea and they brought Koreans to work there. So we have a lot of Koreans
ah,
living around, and that's why people who live in Sakhalin and Far East, Russian Far East, they are different from people from the rest of Russia. We have this Asian flair, how they say. We love Asian food. We understand some terminology from Korean. So
yeah, no,
it was familiar for me.
yeah, no. I've always wondered about that with Russia. Well, not always, but ever since I've got to know more parts of Asia, that it starts off as it's Europe, it's Asia, but it's and the Mongolia. And actually, it's just reminded me, well, as you said, the Japanese occupation, you know, you've already got some empathy with each other there because you've both had the same experience. Korea and parts of Russia have had the same experience with the Japanese.
Mhm.
So that maybe there was something there, but also I think it was in Seoul. There's an area called Mongolia Town. It's not like very famous, but it's near the DDP, the Design Plaza. But there's lots of Russians working there as well as Mongolians, I think. So that's quite an interesting mix. How do you, I'll change the subject a bit here, but how do you kind of get the word out for your classes, but also your other events? Is it just social media, or do you have like flyers that do stuff, or flyers that you give out, or?
We have some flyers for children classes for local community because our Korean artist who speaks English very well, she leads children classes for Korean children in English. So it's kind of both. They learn English and art at the same time. But usually it's social media, and we use Instagram, Facebook, and Korea Bridge. Maybe you know it's a website for Busan events in Busan for expats.
Right. What was that? Korea Beach, did you say?
Korea Bridge.
Oh, I don't. Oh, right. Yes. Okay. Yeah. There's a few of those sort of community sites. Do you get people passing by that wonder what you are? Bearing in mind you're on the second floor, but you've got your big logo outside. Do people just pass by and go up and ask what it is?
Sometimes, sometimes, yes, we had a few visitors like this. Our one of our first Korean like artists, she lives here and she was passing by and she came in. And first time we had live drawing sessions, I think we had the whole neighborhood who came to see what we are doing.
Right, because you are the first art space that area then. Is that right?
Yeah,
There's
yes,
not.
I
Okay.
think so. Yeah. We are one of a kind for like one of this kind in Busan, I think. So
Okay. So what's the nearest thing to what you do in Busan? There must be another, because obviously,
yes, there are some residencies, but we talk to Korean artists as well. They are not like this. They are not. They don't offer equipment, for example, or tools, and we have everything. So artist members, they can use everything that we have.
yeah, I was reading something on your site. So it says you've got to have the technical know-how, but you are free to use everything. Is that right? Something like that? Yeah,
Yes.
that's really good. I was there once when I met you there, and yeah, there was a class going on at the time. I don't know what it was. I don't know what art it was. I was too busy talking to you, but it was. It looked that everyone was actually having a laugh as well. It wasn't just too serious. You know, they were. Um,
If if someone does not know, for example, for screen printing, if people don't know, they take a course and then they can use it by themselves.
mm. And you've also got, again, I was there in the evening, so I didn't see it functioning as a cafe, but you've got like a counter area
Yes.
that's a cafe. But I suppose you sell alcohol for certain.
No.
No, okay. Maybe it was just that film night, wasn't it? Because it was a special.
Yes.
Yes.
y- Yeah.
Not
But
like,
usually just tea, coffee, like this.
yeah, that's all you need, isn't it? Art and tea or coffee. Um, yeah. So, well, I might have some more questions, but I think I might have covered a lot of what I was going to ask you. Um, is there anything? Uh,
Yes, I want to say if someone is listening uh, outside of Korea, that's another like another push for me was I have a lot of friends who are artists and they want to visit Korea like for months or two and work in Busan. At the same time, they learn Korean arts and crafts, but stay and work doing their own work. So that's what another reason why we opened, because we want people from outside to Korea come stay in Korea, learn Korean culture and have a space to create. uh, my two of my friends, they will travel from uh, one from Canada, another from Europe for summer, and they will stay here and they will work in the studio. They will organize their own events. I think it's convenient because if you want, as a foreigner, if you want to have to get residency in Korea, it's not that much choices and not easy to find. But you can just come, become a member, and have space, working space and equipment.
so is that on the website? Because I might have not have seen that.
Uh, I, s- probably I did not
Yeah, no, it's okay.
describe it like this, but that's the idea.
So if someone, just to clarify, so if someone is an artist, let's just say, well, I'm a video artist, filmmaker, but let's just say a different kind of artist, they want to come there. Obviously, they have to sort out their own accommodation like they would normally.
Yes,
Uh,
and we can help with that as well.
okay. And then, but you've also got to be able to fit them in to be a resident. You know, you could have something that coincides with something else.
Mhm.
So do they just contact you out of
Yes,
the blue, just on Facebook, say, "Look, I'm an artist. I want to be there." Is that
yes.
okay?
Mhm.
Oh, that's something I didn't know. So that is
Maybe I should be more clear about this, but it's co-working studio, so it's kind of I think it understandable that you
yeah,
can
yeah,
just
yeah,
become a member and work here.
yeah. And I didn't know. It's not me. It's not me
Mhm.
being unclear. It's just I've researched a bit and I knew a bit, and it's just it didn't occur to me that that would be an option. You know,
Yeah.
um, that's really good. Um,
Yes, I published my studio in this. There is a website which kind of like a Airbnb for art studios. So you know, artists always like to be inspired, and they travel a lot, looking for inspiration. And our studio is on that website. It's the only art studio available for rent in Korea.
ah,
In Seoul, there are some, but in Busan, I tried to find, but I could not find any.
hmm, that's really interesting. Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to think of anything else, but I think that's yeah. Is there anything else you want to cover? I can put it in the episode. Is
Oh,
it-
I,
no. I
I want
mean,
to thank you for the interest because it's very nice. It means that it's not, it's useful what we are doing.
Yeah, well, to me, I think it was the unique. It was the uniqueness. You know, I go somewhere and I fall in love with. Okay, even a town or a city. I go somewhere. I could be in, here falling with love with Chiang Mai. I can go Bangkok, and obviously that's a crazy city, busy, but I can still see its charm. And the same with Busan. But then you put it down to a cafe or an art studio, and I go, oh, this is brilliant. It's because I haven't seen it before, And so that was why. And also, I just think it's nice to get this perspective of a foreigner. A lot of our guests have been foreign guests, but we have had Koreans, of course. But it's great to see how, you are a business, but not in the greedy kind of business. It's the opposite. It's more grassroots, you know?
You know, you are not the first one who said it. I talked to one artist from Britain. He's not in Korea right now, but we just communicate through Instagram. And he said, "Oh, it's so nice to see foreigner having a business, not a language teaching business in Busan." And
Yeah.
he wants to visit and come to the studio.
And that's it, though. You always think it worries people setting up a business in another country as well, though. It's as a foreigner, um, it can't be easy. It's not easy over here. But the fact that you did it, what I do like about what you've done is that, again, you haven't just come here, you've seen an opportunity, you've done it, you've lived here 20 years, you've immersed yourself and you love it. Some people would come here because they want to get away from their own place and they go, how can I make money from this? You know, but it's not like that. You've become, you've done it out of passion for two things, one for Busan and one for art, Busan community and art. So I think
Yes,
it's,
it's actually a artist community in Busan.
mm,
That's what I like. I feel comfortable in Busan. I feel like at home. I when I go to uh, before art studio, I think I did not interact as much with foreigners as I interacted with Korean. And when I go to some events, for example, I went to surfing camp. It's up north in Yanyan, and there were only Koreans there. My Korean is not very good, and they said, "How? Why? How did you come? And you are not afraid?" But I did not even feel that I was foreign.
right.
I That's how I feel in Busan. I feel like I'm local.
Yeah, it doesn't, it's not like sold. It's a different thing, You can feel like you're not a part of Seoul, easily. Guang,
When when we moved to Busan, there were not a lot of foreigners here. So you kind of to feel comfortable, you had to become Korean. You had to live Korean way. And that made my life very easy. And then when we went to Moscow and we came back, it was this period, 5 years, when Busan changed completely. When a lot of foreigners came. And when we came back, this foreign community formed. And it was separated from Korean community.
mm,
So I think the reason why I feel comfortable because we moved first we came when there were no foreign community. Even if there was, it was not that big. So we had to become Korean, and I'm very happy about it.
and you said your Korean's not that good, but you know a tiny bit.
Yes, I learn, of course, I learn every time I learn it, and even now I take classes. But that's another. For many years, I was embarrassed that I don't speak Korean that well. But now I changed my mind. I think if I don't speak Korean very well, but it's easy for me to live and communicate, then it's not about the language. It's about human communication.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and it's easy. I don't understand when people say, "Oh, it's so." like difficult to be in Korea, not speaking Korean, but for me it's not difficult. You are human being, you can ask anyone. Like this old woman who always sitting there, they will help you all the
Yeah.
time.
It's body language, you know.
Yes.
You don't have to, and there's no excuse now. We are, you know, we've had a smartphone for 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
and we've got Google Translate. We can even talk to something, and it does the talking for you. But you have been in Korea at the right time. It was very homogenous before, and it was even some people would say, you know, racist, but it's because they weren't used to foreigners, you know.
I don't think so. I think it became more kind of aggressive towards foreigners when a lot of foreigners came.
Right, yeah, because they didn't want it, they didn't like it.
Yes, but before that, it was very friendly.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's just there was certain stories. I'm not saying, you know, I would never say that I love Korea. I'm not trying to, you know, say anything bad about it.
People are people. It happens, of course, it happens sometimes
Yeah,
because we are all different. But in general, we are all human. As I said on my website, we are all the same underneath.
yes, exactly. We're all soft. We're all back to, you know, we're all artists, I believe, in some way, anyway,
Yes.
even if we don't realize we are. Just you don't have to be any good at art, but you can be good at, I don't know, communicating or you know, writing or something. It's still good. Um, yeah. Okay. Well, we could talk for hours about Korea and fitting in with Korea and you know how it's changed. And yeah. Well, it's been really nice speaking to you. And I do. It's weird. I would just say this. This is not really necessarily related directly to your thing, but I do love Busan when I'm there. And I was there for 5 weeks. Then I went to a week's temple stay. And when I leave Korea, that is the longest I stayed, middle of December. I've never stayed in Korea that late before.
Mhm.
I've been there 9 times now. But when I'm here, I also get comfortable, you know, and I have to think about the expense. It's more expensive to live in Korea in some ways than it
Mhm.
is where I am. But I guess what I say is when I see what you're doing and I remember it and I know Songjeong, and you know, just Busan in general. I felt really for that month I was there, I felt a little bit empowered just from the people I was meeting. So it does make me, you know, miss it.
I
um,
hope I will see you in the studio again.
yeah, well, this year hopefully. I'm actually I really want to be back in April because it's the Sewol 10-year anniversary. But you know that's not long from now, and I take every month or two as it comes. But no, 100%. Even if I'm not there then, I'll hopefully be there for the film festival just because I love attending that as well. Do you?
Mhm.
That's one more thing. Do you ever attend that? I know it's a big thing, the film festival. Do you ever go along to the Biff?
Yes, of course, I have a friend who is one of the organizers. She is very close, and yes. And my daughter now she is studying films and digital media, so she has to go. It was her exercise to go to film festival.
Well, it'll be an honor to at some point show one or two of my video arts in your place
Oh,
somehow.
yes, yes, I hope.
But
Mm.
we will see.
Mm.
Okay, thanks, Anna, and I really appreciate your time. And it's really, yeah, good to see you. And yeah, what time is it there? It's 4 o'clock here, so it's 6 p.m. there. It's getting dark outside, is it? I can see.
Yes.
No snow, no snow.
No snow now, it's good, but today air is not very clear, not very clean, but it's okay.
Okay,
Mm.
well, it's probably cleaner than Seoul, though.
Yes.
Yeah, as
Mm.
much as I love Seoul. Okay, well, really good, and take care, and we'll speak soon. I'll send you a message.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode. So that's all from us. 안녕히 계세요. The original version of this video was uploaded to Jason Verney's YouTube channel, where it and many other videos, podcasts, snippets and films can be found. That channel can be found at youtube.com/Jason Verney.